Hi, Justin. How are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice
Cheers.
to meet you. So to start with something like this that, is based on a true story, but also is set in a specific time period, how does that, when you are approaching something as a director, kind of change how you look at a story because it has to be so specific to the time period in which it's set?
Yeah, well, I mean, straight away is there's that sort of pressure of the fact that it is a true story, and you're trying to sort of stay very, you're trying to honor the real events, but at the same time, you're trying to balance a point of view in there and how you're going to sort of navigate the audience through, you know, a character's eyes and a character's kind of way in which they see this world. So that's the biggest challenge, is that you don't want it to be a sort of documentary or fact-based piece of filmmaking. You want to sort of take people into the personal and the human, which always needs a sort of point of view. So that becomes the real, I guess, balancing act, when doing true stories, but also the most interesting part of it.
Well, yeah, and with something like this too, where it is, poignant and it is a detective story, but it is also one about like the hatred that fills these groups that kind of become radicalized and do things like this and the domestic terrorist aspect of it. When you are trying to like find the balance between all of those and bring us into the detective story that Jude is kind of leading versus what Nicholas Hoult is dealing with, how do you try and figure out where you want your lens to fall best on those moments to make sure that the audience is informed, but we're also still like following the story that is the most impactful in those moments?
Yeah, well, I think you have an overall point of view that carries over both characters, and sort of how you're filming it and where the lens is and what the music is and the landscape and the world of it and the tone of it. But I think you do need to, when you're sort of following sort of two kind of characters that are, you're going back and forth with, that has a bit of a kind of cat and mouse, understand what their sort of situation is. I mean, to me, what was really interesting was, you know, Bob Matthews was about community and family, and trying to kind of bring together as many people as possible to believe in these kind of, horrific ideologies. So Nick was always sort of shot around other people, and would seem to always be sort of in the middle of some sort of domestic situation. Whereas, Huss's character was sort of quite isolated and a bit of an outlier coming into this town. And, there was a sort of loneliness and a sense of at sea with him. So, he was always sort of, we always sort of shot him against, vast landscapes. And, there was always a sort of sense of, loneliness and isolation with him. So you do sort of work out what are the kind of traits within the character and what is the feeling that you want to get for an audience for each of those characters, and then hopefully they come together in a really interesting way.
Yeah, and with a movie like this too, like we were talking about the time period being so specific. Oh, never mind, I have to wrap. But thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it. I love the movie and I can't wait for everyone else to get to see the order.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Thanks. Nice to speak to you.
Thank you. Have a
Yeah,
good
Rachel.
one.